I'm so excited about today's guest, having the beautiful Michelle Etchinson. Thank you for being here. I love you so much. I'm so excited for this conversation. So, I was just telling Michelle before we hit record that I was just magnetized to her energy. There is something so magnetic about this woman. And I know that today's conversation is going to be juicy and full of pleasure and joy. And I can't wait to get into it. So, hi, Michelle. Thanks for joining me today.
Hello, Abby. Thank you for such a gorgeous and warm welcome. Like, truly, I felt the same way about you. I just felt like, oh, you're just the Kundalini goddess queen of the internet. And it's just truly, truly just the deepest honor to be here. Like, even as soon as we hopped on Zoom, it's just my heart space expanded, my soul just uh, like breathe. There's just a sigh of relief, right? Knowing that I'm among soul people just in soul flow. So thank you again for having me.
Of
Such a
course. I know you online. Like we've been in the Instagram DMs. Like we're friends, we're girls. But there's something different about being in this space. It's more intimate. I want today's interview and like really a conversation to be like if we got together and had coffee, like what would we talk about? And so that's kind of where I want to start. What is most present for you today? What's been on your heart? What's been in your energy? Like what are you feeling today?
oh, what am I feeling today? I love this question, Abby, because I feel like, it's what's today's date, like March 20 something or other when we're
Yeah,
recording.
25th.
Yeah. I'm like, who knows about dates? But I feel like March has been one hell of a month in terms of just like personal grief and navigating life and also becoming an aunt. My sister had a baby and it's
Oh
just
my
been,
gosh.
it's just been
Congrats. That's so exciting.
cute. Yeah. And it's just been, honestly, it's been like truly an absolute whirlwind of emotions. And actually, just like in full transparency, I just feel pulled to share this. I actually had a miscarriage earlier this month, and it was
Oh my
just
gosh.
really brutal. And that's kind of
Mm,
why I was in grief and just in this like
yeah.
tremendous death cycle. And it feels like I was telling my friend just like earlier this week when I was catching up with her, I was like, for the first time this month, I feel like myself again. I feel like I've come home to who I am. I feel like I've also discovered new and different parts of myself and just met my soul on a whole other level. But
Yeah.
like I said, it's kind of been this beautiful time of both like really devastating grief, but simultaneous, just like overwhelming joy and celebration for my sister and her baby. And, it's been really beautiful as well. Just I was in the shower actually. Of course, all the beautiful flow of ideas happen in the shower. And it was just like this moment where I recognized I was like, this journey of entrepreneurship, this journey of spiritual awakening. And, as you know, our businesses really do invite us into the darkest parts of ourselves, invite us into just a deep exploration of like what parts of ourselves are we hiding, what parts of ourselves have we abandoned. And I recognize that, going through that miscarriage, like so much of what I've learned as an entrepreneur actually supported me so, so
Mm,
deeply in getting through that and remembering myself through that. So that's like what's been in my world lately. It's been
yeah.
heavy, but at the same time, just kind of blindingly beautiful at the same
Yeah.
time. It's like holding that polarity and that duality of life. And yeah, so that's in the most
Wow.
fullest transparent truth of my heart. That is what's alive for me today. And it's funny, I was like, oh, I didn't know that was gonna come forward, but like
Yeah.
spirit just brought through and was like, no, this just feels like deeply aligned to share today.
Thank you for sharing that and sending you so much love and so much support with that. I've had some friends and family go through that, and I can't imagine. I can't relate to that experience, but I can like feel how like devastating, that is. And then I find it like so deeply inspiring that you can hold that and at the same time like feel that joy for your sister and becoming an aunt. But that sounds super hard and like a month, it's like that's a big experience. And I think gosh, that when you were sharing that, I mean, I was getting super emotional because it brings up that I don't know, it's just like that love that comes with like being pregnant, having a baby, all of it. It's just like it's there. And it's just like came this desire. I want that for you. I know you'll have that. And I'm excited for that. But I'm also like sorry for that loss for you and like feel that so
Mm.
much. And it reminded me too of a little bit of your background because you struggled with autoimmune issues in your life, right? So it just what came through was like what you said at the end, the polarity and the duality. That is something that you do and hold so beautifully. And I don't know if you feel comfortable, but if you want to share, like, how do you do that so well? Like, how can you witness these things and have these experiences that are like bring you to your knees, like praying, like grief, and then like smile and talk about joy of your new niece or nephew? You know what I mean? Like, how do you do that?
Mm, I love that question, Abby. Thank you. And just thank you for all the love as well. I'm just receiving you. And also, even just like quick reflection back to you. It's just, I feel so safe and so held and just so loved. Like I said, just like instantly, as soon as we started the Zoom call, I was just like, like so open. So I just want to reflect back to you what an incredible host, friend, soul sister you are, that my soul just feels like absolutely and deeply at ease with you. But I love this question though of holding the polarity of life. And I feel like for me, dealing with autoimmune disease, it was back when I was 24. So it's been about 5 years since I really went through a very dark night of the soul with autoimmune. But I do feel like as much as that period of my life was really, really difficult and really challenging, it did teach me that one, what it means to actually really be alive. Because I found that before autoimmune disease, right, it was kind of like, as we do, we just kind of go about and we live our lives and we follow the rules and we fit the mold that everyone has placed upon us. And for me, it was very much like the high achieving, like good girl, like do the best and like run yourself into the ground in order to do so. And I feel like that whole, couple decades of my life was just spent kind of feeling like a part of my soul was missing, like a part of myself wasn't fully alive. And when my health crashed and it was really brutal, it like you said, it brought me to my fucking knees. It's like that was one of those times when I was just like, God damn, life, being a human is hard. It is
Yeah.
intense, but it showed me this just different depth of myself. And I feel like through that experience of healing, right? And for me, so much of healing autoimmune disease was recollecting and reintegrating the parts of my soul that had gotten lost along the way and really facing myself. And I feel like through that experience of learning how to meet the just darkest, ugliest, twisted, tangled parts of myself, I also, from that space, could see my light with just a whole new
Mm.
lens of, wow, I can be in this like horrifying darkness, and I can also hold the joy and the moments of pleasure and the moments of excitement and friendship and community and connection and sisterhood and all of these things. And I feel like through that experience now, as life throws us curveballs and, surprises us in all of these sometimes pleasant and sometimes unpleasant ways, I have all this evidence from that time in my life that I can hold anything. I can hold
Yeah.
all of it. And also recognizing that I don't have to hold all of it. So I feel like for me, it's also just asking for support and being supported was one of the most important things that I learned, that I feel allows me to hold the darkness and the light. Is for once, it's I don't have to do it by myself. I can ask
Yeah.
for support. I can receive support. And through this month I did ask for a lot of support and received a lot of support. And it's just really, really humbling as a
Yeah.
human.
Yeah, totally. And I feel that from you so much. This, like, it's just, you guys are, if you're watching Michelle, if you're here, you're hearing Michelle, yes. But if you watch Michelle, if you look at Michelle, you feel it's like, it's just this next level of liberation that I truly feel from so few coaches, which is why I wanted you to be one of my first guests. I was like, I have to talk to this woman and see like what is deeper, because it's like incredible liberation that I feel from you. I don't think that it comes across initially as like the support piece, or that you or drawing people in to support you. Although I know that it's more of like you can exist in this now, in this like really beautiful now, and there doesn't have to be expectation. There doesn't feel like you have rules. It doesn't feel like you have like things that you force yourself to follow. Like it feels just like you're free. You're just such a free, beautiful soul, and it's so magnetic is like the word that I think of when I think of you all the time, like magnetic and pleasure, because the girl is like a sensual goddess, guys. Like check out her Instagram, you'll see it all.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank
But
you.
what did, when it came to like, you know witnessing those parts of yourself, like the dark, the twisted, the like in those moments, like what did that process look like for you, like moving with that?
You know, as soon as you asked that question, the first thing that dropped into my mind was, you know, I think when I was not doing so well, when I was more sick, to be honest, there was a lot of just numbing out. Like
Yeah.
it was just like I would spend my days in bed watching Netflix or reading books and just kind of feeling sorry for myself and,
Mhm.
comparing myself to a past version of myself and wishing that I could go back to a time when I was more vibrant or more beautiful, right? All of the deep criticisms and self judgment. But again, it was like at that time when all of these voices of just like twisted darkness got so loud, I had to find an outlet for them. And again, like the first visual that dropped through for me, you asked that question was I can't even remember when it was. Maybe it was in like 2017 or 2018, where every night, like I just started like in the living room, I turn all the lights out and I would just play like the most like for me, I'm Korean, and so I'd play like just angry Korean rap music or something, or just like really just like intense music. And I would just like crawl around on the floor like an
Oh
animal
my
and like scream and like, like fly my hair around. But this was before I was really connected to my sensuality and I felt comfortable in my body. So for me, it was literally like I met the darkness by being in the dark. I met the tangled parts of myself by like physically like contorting and unraveling. And, my husband was just like, you do your thing, honey. He's super supportive. I would just be like, I need to rage. I need to cry. Like, just like go upstairs or whatever it might be. But I feel for me, healing autoimmune disease taught me to rebuild the lines of communication with my body and learn to actually listen and understand my body. And it's so funny that as soon as I did that, my intuition was like, bitch, we need to move. Like, not like doing like those workouts you do on YouTube or not like going for your normal nature walk, but we need to fucking move this energy. And for me, it looked like, yeah, just in the comfort and the safety of literal dark nighttime, it felt really safe for me to like kind of like unleash these like serpenty aspects of myself. And it was really fun. And I mean, that's a practice that I still do very often, like meeting the rage and the sadness. But yeah, for me, it was definitely a reconciliation with my body and
yeah.
the experience of being in this sacred vessel.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. I have to say, the first thing that came through was like, that is so epic. Like, I bow to you. That is incredible. I love that so much. Do you feel like, because, you were going through, different things with your physical body. So do you feel like, were you doing spiritual work when that was coming out?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. Like, or do you feel like it was like an intuitive reaction of your body from like holding so much that it was like, this has to come out. This is what we do. And it just like started giving you ideas.
Oh my god. Even like my throat chakra was like but I do feel like in a lot of ways it was just this intuitive part of me that was like there's like something underneath, there's something here, let's explore that, let's be with that. And even like I can feel my voice right now, it's like a little bit like oh like I felt like my throat kind of go like
Yeah.
with something. And just like it's so funny how our body can like physically react when we start like speaking and sharing and talking about these deeper parts. But I do feel like for me it was mm, intuitive, but also again I'm like kind of piecing together the timeline. I'd actually worked with Sarah
Okay.
as well, like by that time period, and I feel like working with her helped me just Open up. Like, I'm even thinking about my partnership and my relationship. I feel like I used to be a very closed off person. And if I was dealing with something or struggling with something, I would just kind of like swipe it under the rug and, as we do,
Yeah.
right? Just kind of hold it all together and put on your fake smile. But I feel like mm, that was a time when I actually started asking for support. And again, like I said, it's funny that that theme just keeps coming back of
Mm.
me learning to ask for support and actually be held and be seen in the ugly and the twisted and the messy. And I feel like for me, that was just so deeply healing at that time and still is, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your favorite way to be supported in your life? What's most supportive? Is it like, do you like going out and like getting out with your friends, your family? Do you like, is it like calling, like verbally processing things? Like, is it energy work and healing? Is it mentorship? Like, what does that look like for you?
I was like, like all of the above. But, I feel like, and even the first thing that popped into my mind as you were speaking, for anyone that is watching, this like little silver ring that I have on my finger here next to my little opal from my mom, actually, I feel like this represents like the kind of support that I find to be just like the most deeply supportive. And actually, one of my sweet friends who's also gone through a miscarriage, she came over, and it's so funny because I hadn't told her yet that I'd experienced this. And she came over to my house just to have dinner. And she was like, for whatever reason, like spirit led me to like wear this ring that I got like after my first miscarriage, which has been like 7 years ago. And she was like, I don't know why. And then I was like, holy shit. Like, and then I told her, and she was like, oh, I know exactly why I was led to wear this ring, like so that I could gift it to you and support you through that. And I was just like, I mean, obviously I was just like
I know I'm about to start bawling.
I was just like crying and sobbing, just like pure sisterhood and
Yeah.
connection. Of course, like support looks so many different ways, but it was just like in that moment, I felt so deeply seen by someone and just so deeply cared for by another being and by another soul. And I think for me, even if there's no words, even if there's no like, let's hop on the phone and like chat and talk through this, even just that simple act of feeling energetically seen. Like even in some of
Yeah.
my friendships where it's like we don't talk that often, it's just like I simply just know that there's always a space for me in their heart space, in their soul. Like we're just always deeply connected. So I feel like for me, support often looks very unspoken. Or even
Yeah.
thinking of my partner who like through this month just did all the cooking and like cleaning, and he just like took over. And of course my husband's an engineer, so he's very much like, I don't want to jump in and fix the situation. So how can I not jump in and fix it, but still be supportive? And he was just like, okay, let's like, cook and do all this stuff. And it's just like those small acts where someone shows you that they care, even if they
Yeah.
don't know what to say or, the right thing, as if there is the right thing
Yeah.
to say.
Right.
It's just that feeling of
Yeah.
being supported.
Yeah. I agree. I love that. If you look at the world that we live in right now, I feel like you would believe that everything is about things being easier, more convenient, faster, that like we want to live in like really in like comfort and luxury. And I was reminded on Tuesday just about the meaning of life is like connection to other people and like real authentic connection. Like it's not about it being convenient, it's about it being like meaningful. Like life is about engaging with other human beings, and like it's not about being by yourself, toughing it out, doing what you feel like you have to do. Like not like it's about supporting other people. Like that's the point. And I was thinking about this because my daughter is like in love with her gymnastics coach. It's such a funny way to get there, but she's never bonded with any adult like this ever. And I mean, she tells her she loves her on her own. Like Isla just says, like, I love you. You're the best, Coach Molly. And it's like the cutest. And Molly, like they hug like 50 times a class. It's so cute. And I'm like, I will drive no matter where we live. Like, I will drive to like be with this coach. And it made me think of like, yeah, but what if we live an hour away? Like, that's not convenient. I was like, fuck convenient. It's not about what's convenient. Like, life is about these people that mean something to me, and like that means something to my daughter and my family and just our life. And I think that we forget that. And it's what want to bring through with these conversations, but it just like really came through that I just wanted to piggyback on what you were saying about just like feeling seen by people. And there's just, oh, that's just the point of it. It's just the point of it isn't like what we think it is, you know?
Yeah, no, I got chills as you were speaking, just like, thinking about those connections, especially, with your daughter, and just it really does come down to, as humans, what do we all actually want? Like, right beyond, like, we want our businesses to succeed, or we want money, or we want our lunch to fill up, or we want, I don't know, like a promotion at our job, or we want to travel. It's like we want to be seen, accepted, and loved for who
Yeah.
we are at the end of the day. And that's
Mhm.
the most important thing. And I think it's sometimes these humbling moments in our life that remind us of that, when we do kind of like stray away from that and get a
Yeah.
little distracted by what is shiny or bright, and just coming back to that like deeply dropped in heart-centered place of, at the end of the day, if we're loved and seen, that's all.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Exactly. And I feel like life is this navigating this like, oh, this shiny thing over here, I really want it. I have to have it. It's so nice. And then and like the distraction, and then the like home. And it's like navigating the acceptance of both pieces of who we are, right? That it's the finite, the infinite, the divine, the human. But it's like life is really just about like, can I just accept all of me and be who I want to be in every moment? If I want the shiny thing, that's okay. If I don't want the shiny thing and I want to like meditate and self pleasure for hours, like, can I be okay with that? Like, can I be okay with all the things? Can I just be okay with who I am? And that kind of the piece of acceptance leads me into what I would, because you are like the pleasure goddess. Like I like what you do is just like coded in it. It just like oozes out of you. It's so great. And I like, how do you go from being in a place where you don't trust your body, you're mad at your body, there's rage for your body and the autoimmune that your disease that you're going through, to like so in tune with your body, like love your body. Like you see Michelle's stuff and you're like, she fucking loves herself, man. Like this girl loves herself. So how do you do that?
Yeah, for me, I feel like my sensuality journey definitely was very activated by all the autoimmune conditions and healing from that, because it was a, again, like I know I mentioned this before, but like the rebuilding lines of communication with my body. But I feel like for me as well, and this is like a total different tangent, but it was also a reconciliation with my heritage. Like my mom is Korean, and so I come from a very conservative Korean background where like sensual expression and like dancing in lingerie on the internet or things like that are like, don't you dare kind of attitude. And I feel like for me, like it was this two-part of slowly but surely, like truly just like moment by moment, feeling safer and safer in my body. And, modalities like breath work and even yoga and meditation, all these pieces really supported me in almost like titrating safety in my nervous system of, ooh, like at first it was like, it's safe to dance in the dark, like under the cover where no one is watching. And then it was like, okay, it's safe to dance in the light and just like play. And I really did treat it like just a playful journey, almost like a play date with myself, right? And of course also like bringing in these elements of increasing my threshold for pleasure. Because of course, like
Mm,
with autoimmune disease, like that was not pleasurable, right? Like as healing from that, my body was not prioritizing like, let's be in pleasure, like let's like feel good. It was like, let's survive versus, like kind of like slowly softening that survival response and creating safety for healing in my body then led to creating safety to show up in the daylight and then show up on Instagram and then show up in my friendships. But like I said, it was that one piece of the titrating safety of my body. But I feel like the other just like huge piece of creating safety in my body to be sensual and to express that was, like I said, reconciling with that part of myself that I remember like the first time I like posted like any sort of like sensual video on Instagram, like I had this like horrible nightmare of my home and me and my grandmother are just like rolling over in her grave, just like so disappointed in me, just like so like, oh my God, we moved to this country so you could have a better life and this is what you do with it kind of energy. But I actually, like through working with my mentors, like was able to reframe that idea of like I'm betraying my bloodline by being this centrally expressed to actually my bloodline experiences this liberation with me. Like
Mm,
as if like my grandmother, it's like rather than feeling disappointed in me or angry with me, it's more just she's looking at me and smiling and saying like, wow, like thank you for being the one to shift this. And almost as if like her spirit could just like zoop into my heart space for a little while, and it's like, all right, honey, like let's take a joyride in this like pleasurable lifetime, let's like go play and explore and have fun. And it just, yeah, it's so funny, right? As we step into these new identities and let fall away parts of us that were never really us. It brings up all all of the limiting stories and fears and doubts. But of course, having the support and the ability to meet those sticky, crunchy, edgy parts and
yeah.
move forward with
Yeah. Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I love that so much. And I totally feel that. And I was thinking, feeling as you were talking, like, do you feel, because I feel like I feel like maybe this is a almost rhetorical question because I feel like I know the answer, but I love if you elaborate on it. But do you feel like in your life, like, does pleasure lead you now? Like, do you feel like that's what leads your life? What does it feel most leads you?
Oh, I love this question. Ah, pleasure definitely leads me. I feel like a reconciliation with pleasure, like just completely and utterly changed the way that I live my life. Like even like for example, like I'm thinking like even just like this morning, I woke up and I think I had like a weird or unpleasant dream when I woke up and I was just like sometimes when you wake up and all of a sudden it's just like as soon as you're conscious that you're awake, it's like anxiety or just like that like
Oh,
weight,
yeah.
just like oh like a weighted blanket almost. It's just like
Yes.
over you and you're just like oh dear. But
Yeah.
for me it's like you're like oh fuck, okay, this is how we're gonna start today.
Yeah, that's more for me. It's not like, oh dear. It's like, oh fuck.
Oh fuck, here we go. Right, but even like just this morning, like meeting myself, but having that awareness of okay, right now like my pain body is very activated from whatever was going on in my dream. Like how can I be with this? How can I sit with this? How can I not make this wrong? And even just like not even necessarily in pleasure, but just in awareness and deep presence. Because I think the magic of pleasure and also sensuality is that it invites us back to presence with
Yeah.
in alive, what we're currently experiencing, the support beneath us, the sound of our breath. And for me, it's always in those times, like for example, when like I feel anxiety arrive in my body, it's okay, like what thoughts am I thinking that are causing this feeling in my body? And it's like, okay, there's definitely some doomsday thoughts happening in my
Yeah.
in my mind, in my beautiful human mind. And I love her and she's amazing. But then again, like softening the pain body. And for me, it feels like that pain often starts to soften and dissolve on its own as soon as I'm like, hey, I see you. Like, not a problem. Not trying to toss you out the window or set you on fire. Like,
Yeah.
safe to be here, anxious feelings, like, love you. But as soon as I do that, it's like pain body softens and I almost just get this visual of as if like the pain body was like red or like angry and activated. It's like when I like come back to that pleasure body, it's like the pleasure body just like almost like douses the pain body with just like some delicious, beautiful water. And then it's just like, like you can breathe a little
Mhm.
bit deeper. And then it's just like, yeah, like the simple sensations of what a, like rubbing your fingertips together. It's like what it feel, notice like the soft physical edges of your body. Or for me, often it's like, can I just like lick my lips really quickly and just like notice these just like soft, tender edges of my physical body. And then it's like, oh, okay, like I'm not anxious anymore. And even if I am, it's like I can go about my day and move with it and it's all good. So definitely I do feel like pleasure leads in a lot of ways. And it's
Yeah.
just such a gift to be in this place and able to navigate in this way.
Yeah. I think, gosh, that's also good. I'm totally stealing that practice. I love the visual that you gave, the pain body. And like, I think of my nervous system, but sometimes I don't think of like the pain body, like when the physical discomfort comes in, because I'm highly sensitive. I know that you are too. I get a lot of heightened physical sensations, and like my pain body can be really reactive, like a live wire, because I'm sensing so much. And so I'm regulating all the time, but I just love that idea. I'm totally using that of like using the water. I mean, that's so great. And just kind of like how it just calms it down. Just a short visualization. You guys feel free to, if you're, when you're listening to this, take that practice, use it for yourself. That's amazing. So I have been really feeling into this too. And like I've always thought like joy has led me, right? Like I want that to lead me. And I'm like, I've been pursuing that and I've been really working on it. And it's brought up some subconscious patterning and thoughts and all of that, but it's also brought up this reflection of like, why is it so hard like to let that lead us? Like, when do we stop letting it lead us? Because that's all that leads my daughter. Like, she is always about what feels good, like what she desires. It's like I learned so much from her. It's freaking incredible. I have a 10-month-old. It's like Isla's 3, so she just like doing what she wants. I was telling Sarah yesterday, I was like, the girl never runs out of energy. Like, I'm exhausted at the end of a day. And I'm like, how are you still going? And I realized it's because she hasn't learned to carry anything yet. She lives in the moment. She's not attached to what was, and she doesn't give a shit about what could happen. She doesn't hold any stress. She has fear in a moment. She tells me this is what she does. This is the cutest thing in the whole world. She goes up the stairs in her playhouse, and she'll get ready to go down the slide. This is when there was still snow on the ground. So it was like a big pile at the bottom, and it would go a little extra fast. And so she would go, well, it's a little bit scary, but I try my best. And she does it with everything. So it's like you see in that moment, like fear, courage. Do you know what I mean? And like she chooses that. And sometimes she's a little too scared. And then we like hype her up of like, do you want to try it? And sometimes she doesn't want to try it, and that's okay. And we're like, okay, well, we could try again tomorrow, or you don't have to, or whatever. But it's like she's so in the moment. And that joy is what is leading her. Like she's looking for what she wants. She's looking for the thing that's going to make her feel happy and feel good. So when do we stop doing that? Why do we do that?
Oh, yes. Oh, my heart's just like so like tingly with that story of your daughter. Just like I feel like we do have to, I mean, I'm not a mom yet, but we do just have so much to learn from children and their way of being and their way of just, kind of the same way. It's just like two kids could be like fighting or like so angry at each other 1 second. And then like literally you turn your head and then you look back and they're like hugging and they're best friends and they're just playing as if nothing happened. And it's
Yeah.
just like, oh my God, like what? It's just like you can't even believe what you're seeing because it's just so beautiful the way they can just transmute things so quickly. But even thinking for me, it's like, like God, when did pleasure leave the room, or when did like leading with what feels good leave the room? And I feel like it's, of course, like in childhood, like depending on how we grew up, there can be fear in the room. There can be like those fears of like, oh my goodness, like when I feel good, what if it makes someone else not feel good? Therefore, it's better for me not to feel good so that someone else can have that and feel good, right? And we like enter that space of scarcity, and or even like I know for me it was always this energy of, well, I don't want to like outshine other people, right? I don't want to be too shiny because if I shine really, really brightly, my light will illuminate the darkness that's within other people. And I don't want them to have to face the pain of meeting their own darkness or their own shadow. So wouldn't it be better just to dim the light to match the darkness around me? And therefore, we can all just like be in this like kind of like lukewarm living, right? Of like nobody
Yeah.
brightly and nobody like make too much of a scene, and let's just all keep it calm. And I know, for me it was very much like taking on the role of like the peacekeeper and like the rescuer in childhood really kind of taught me that my pleasure is not a priority, not for me, not for anyone else in the room. And it's just that coming home to leading ourselves to pleasure, I think, can often bring up a lot. And, even like I'm thinking of like even just the conversations I've had with clients this week, like this theme of considering your threshold for pleasure in your life, in the bedroom, in business. Like it's all so deeply connected, right? Like when a woman not feel safe to like orgasm or like ask for what I want in the bedroom. It's like, so I'm curious, do you feel safe asking for the amount of money that you want if you're an
Mm,
entrepreneur in your business, or, all of these places where if you're so used to settling for breadcrumbs of pleasure, as we do, right? As we grow up and we learn pleasure is not safe or love is not safe, or if I allow all of that in and I allow myself to just feel so in overflow and just like ecstasy, but eventually it's going to get taken away and I'm going to be in pain and I'm going to be disappointed. And I know for me, and just thinking of so many of the women in my life, that was what happened. It was, well, why do we abandon our pleasure? Why does pleasure leave the room? It's maybe at some point you really let yourself like just walls down, just like fully be in it. And then something happened that taught you,
yeah.
oh, fuck, never again. This isn't safe. This isn't okay. Better to just kind of close the door on that, live over here and just be in this, again, like lukewarm, kind of like, I'm not bad, I'm not great, but it's fine. And it's just kind of, again, kind of the same way I was talking about, like, like learning to like titrate safety in my body of like today I can meet this edge and like, oop, that feels edgy. And tomorrow I can meet the next edge and oop, that feels edgy. I feel like it was the same thing with pleasure, just slowly but surely inching your way back to it's safe to feel this and it's safe to be here.
Yeah. And I mean, I so feel all of that and agree with all of that and have had experiences of that in my own life. And it's something that I'm always curious about with other people, because obviously we all have different experiences, different traumatizing things that have happened that show us that pleasure or joy isn't safe, and that teach us that like when something good happens, something bad is going to happen, or that lead us to that thought, or like when is the shoe going to drop? We're always waiting. But something that dropped in right when you were talking was, if pain and if anger and if frustration always come back, then why couldn't pleasure? It's like, why do we get so wrapped up in the chaos and the cycles of the negative emotions when we know they're going to come back? So then why can't we come back to pleasure? Why couldn't that be the natural state? Because it's not like you don't have to live there forever. Like, it's all the emotions are safe. I don't know. How does it feel? How does that, like,
Love
does that
that.
bring anything up?
Yes. As you spoke that, I was like, like, boom, light bulb. I love that because you're right. It's our brains, our beautiful human brains are so conditioned to prepare for the what if worst case scenario. And we're always like, I'm even thinking of like in business, right? It's rather than asking the question of like, ooh, like what if like everyone joins my program and it's so amazing. It's always like, what if no one signs up? That's always the first question, right? Of like,
It.
what if no one signs up? What if I'm embarrassed? What if I'm like, what if it's all horrible and I'm embarrassed and in pain? And it's like, like you said, it's just the cyclical nature of life and being a human is we're going to meet moments of pain and disappointment and fear. But like you said, it's why is it that we think that we're always going to get stuck there, and that the idea that it's not like pleasure is just like, I don't know, like taking a spaceship and like gone to another galaxy to never return. It's like pleasure just momentarily kind of like got wrapped up in a little silk sheet and got like put on the shelf, and it's like as soon as you're ready for her, you just like unwrap her, like you're back. And but
Yeah.
it's so funny how our human brains do focus on the possibility for pain, which of course is just a protective mechanism, right? Of always being aware of the possibilities for pain in order to avoid them, to keep ourselves safe. So it's like loving just those cute little tender parts that always want to keep us
Yeah.
safe. But I really, I just feel like you just like flip that on. I, it's so funny. My husband always makes fun of me because I'm the worst at, like sayings, just like,
Oh,
all,
yeah.
I was like, flip it on the coin, flip it on its hat. Like even the other day, I was telling my husband, I was like, you're a gem in the rough. And he was like, you mean a diamond in the, I don't even know what it is, but
It is rough. It is rough. It's a diamond in the rough.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
he must have said I was like a gem in the oh no, I said a gem in the rumble. I was like, you're such a gem in the rumble. And my husband was like, what the fuck? So fun fact about Michelle, I am literally the worst at sayings. I never get them right. And it brings people around me a lot of laughter. So
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. I love that so much. But while you were talking, like after I said that about, just like how the feelings, they always come back. And you were talking, my whole nervous system started vibrating, or my body, I shouldn't say my nervous system, my body started vibrating. So this happens to me when like, I'm having like a recalibration. It's like, I know it now. It's like, so it's instantaneous. So my whole body, it like shake, like it was like trembling. And so I just wanted to share. That's real freaking cool. I know it in my body. I don't know what it feels like for you, if like you can feel it like that, but it's like, I can literally feel my body being like, we're upgrading.
oh, that's amazing. And I love just how tuned in you are, Abby, of just like recognizing like when this happens and it's like, okay, like something in this operating system is like getting like a little upgrade. And it's funny. I feel like for me, it's it's not the most like fun thing, but oftentimes like when I'm going through like a major up leveling of some sorts, it's like it's always like my spirit and like my soul are like way the fuck over here, and they're like la di da in like this land, and my physical body is often just kind of like, hey, where the fuck do you guys go? Like I'm still catching up. And so oftentimes I'll feel like a little under the weather for like a day or two, like not even like a cold, but just kind of like headachy, and just like kind of like my throat feels like a little scratchy, and I'm like tired. But then it's like as soon as that passes, it's like I feel in my body. It's almost like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like as if every time I not even like every time I remember, like you said, or like recollect a piece of my power, it's almost like I just get this visual as if like all of the abandoned parts of myself were just like little crystals just like scattered about somewhere in the ethers. It's almost like every time I remember a piece of my power and claim it, it's like one of those crystals just like zhoops, like almost as if it's like attached to me through an energy cord. It's like all of a sudden that energy cord just like gets smaller, and the crystal just kind of almost as if my heart space opens like a vortex, and the crystal just goes like zhoop, oh, we're back home, we're back where we belong. And it's just like you said, it's so funny, like being these very sensitive beings, just noticing what it feels like how you wake up and you genuinely feel not even drastically different, but just like one small thread of like how you see the world when you open your eyes. It's like, I'm in a new room, or like I'm just, something looks different, even though nothing has changed,
Mm-hmm.
at least.
Yeah, it's amazing. The sensitivity really is such a gift. I keep coming back to this, like neuroception, right? You're familiar with like polyvagal theory a little bit, and but even not so much about polyvagal, but just about the way that we are constantly searching for cues of danger and cues of safety in our life, like anchors. So our body is so smart. It doesn't need us to remember how to do that. So this again is just dropping in of like, we get so attached to remembering those feelings because it's almost like we're scared that our body isn't going to remember it and it's not going to warn us. Then we have to anticipate the problem, when like our body just remembers how to do it. So when we build trust in our body, this has been true for me, and I'm curious if it is for you. The more trust that I build with my body, the less I worry about what happened in the past or what could happen in the future, because I know that no matter what, she'll let me know. Does that make any sense?
No, it makes like 1000% sense. And, even as you were speaking, I was like, that feels so, so true for me as well. Right. And I remember like when I was in my autoimmune healing journey, a mantra that I put everywhere and said to myself constantly was, my body is my home. I am safe here. My body is my home. I am safe here. My body is my home. I am safe here. And to this day, I always still remind myself of that. And I really love that, right? It's almost like our soul and our body are in a relationship, and they're always working together. And it's just when we can almost it's almost like that like micromanaging boss at work or something like that, where it's like I have to be so vigilant because I bet they're gonna screw up, or they're gonna forget something, or gonna do something wrong. It's just like
Yes.
we don't have to be like the micromanaging boss or like the helicopter parent of our body. It's like our bodies, like you said, are fucking smart. They
Yeah.
have so many beautiful mechanisms and things that are always working for us. And it's like you said, it's when we spend so much time in our minds, it creates so much resistance, right? Because when I think about like when I resist things in my life or resist the expansion, at the end of the day, all it is there's a collection of thoughts spinning around in my mind that are incongruent with whatever it is that I desire, or whatever is
Yeah.
on the side of my comfort zone. And it's just as soon as you can start to soften and, like you said, stop using so much energy entertaining the mental chatter and all of the just like things that we go to as humans, it's wow, you have so much more energy and spaciousness in your body and your being in your energy field of, oh, okay, I don't have to use all that energy like worrying about stuff. How, what can I do with
Mm.
that energy instead? Ooh, I can be in pleasure. Like, ooh, I could enjoy myself. Ooh, and it's just, this beautiful rediscovery of, like you said, just you trust your body. It's just like a whole new galaxy of possibility opens up, and it's so beautiful.
Yeah, totally. Oh my gosh, it really is. This conversation is just so fascinating to me about the body because, I didn't trust mine for so long. And then when I did, everything kind of opened up. And um, we've had different, but like similar kind of journeys. And I ask myself this question a lot. And I'm curious what you ask yourself or do for yourself to support. So like whenever I feel like I am identifying a pattern, a piece of shadow, like a piece of darkness, or like something that is like a little sticky, I'm like asking myself, what rule am I brushing up against? But then what came through when you were talking, oh, this is what it was how can I be okay with this?
Mm.
And I've never thought that before. And it just like channeled right through when you were in the middle of speaking. It was when you were saying that when what you are thinking or is like incongruent with what you want. So then it dropped in of like, how can I be okay with that? And I think the core of like pretty much everything is like forgiveness of yourself, of others, and acceptance, like just acceptance of what is. So then that just popped in as like a question of a way that I can support myself. And if you're listening, you obviously feel free to use it. But like, how can I be okay with this? Like, how can I be okay with what's happening? How can I accept what is? It doesn't mean that it's what is forever, right? But like, how can I be okay with it? Like, what do you, in those moments when it feels really sticky, like, what are the things that you go to?
I love this. And as you were speaking, I just had to say, like the gorgeous thing that is in the background, it looks like you have a crown.
Yes, oh my gosh. So this
Okay.
was not strategically placed, but whenever I teach Kundalini, like people always comment, they're like, you have a halo, you have a crown. I'm like, well,
I
if
do.
the shoe fits.
Like, it's just so perfect. Like as you're just radiating wisdom and just like beauty into the world, it's like behind you. I was just like soaking that beauty up.
Oh
But
my God, I love
I feel
you.
like for me, like you said, it does come back to, and it's funny because acceptance is something that I used to be like, acceptance is for losers, right? Like I would be like, I don't accept my fate. Like I could control it, right? Of course, like
Mm.
that energy. But what I came to realize about acceptance is that I used to be very judgy around the idea of acceptance because I was like, acceptance is giving up. Acceptance is
Mm.
throwing in the towel. Acceptance is like me saying like, well, this is how it's always gonna be. I might as well just settle. And I'm just like, I don't want to settle. But then as I softened and came back to my truth, I was like, I can both be an acceptance. And to me, acceptance and surrender just means how can I be radically honest with myself about what is currently present in my field and how can I allow the divine in to support me because I don't have to hold this alone. But something that really helped me in terms of acceptance was realizing that I can, two truths can coexist, right? I can both be in acceptance and just deeply present with what is, at the same time holding the vision of what it is that I desire, of
Yes.
whatever it is. It's they can both simultaneously exist. Just because I'm accepting doesn't mean the vision just like disappears and it's just I've given up on it. It's this is what's alive, this is what's present. I'm not going to make that bad or wrong or judge the shit out of it like I would in the past,
Yeah.
right? And softening those voices of self-criticism and judgment that say like you shouldn't be here or you should be further along, or especially I'm thinking like in autoimmune healing journey but also in business, right, of that story of like it's not happening fast enough, and that
Mhm.
distrust of our own timeline versus the vision, whatever it is that I see for myself, like it's happening, it's inevitable, it is already just like a golden orb in my timeline. I don't have to worry about it, but what I do get to do is not micromanage and control at what point it happens. And I feel like so much of acceptance and surrender is the relinquishing of control, which for me, like control freak perfectionist, like recovering all of those things, it's like, whew, that was such a big lesson to learn, is that I have to control everything. And actually, often when I stop trying to control everything, life becomes a lot more pleasant and enjoyable and freeing and liberating when it's just like that grip that we have on life and needing it to turn out a certain way. It's like, it's fine. I'm fine. It's good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, I still feel that. Recovering perfectionist control freak over here too, girl. I feel you. And it was like my body like so resonated when you were like, woo! I was like, oh yeah, like cool it off. I know, girl. It's so funny because we're talking about rules here. I told Sarah yesterday, like the rule I'm brushing up against is like if it were fully up to me, which it is, this is where like this would only be on YouTube. I don't want to put it on Spotify. Like I don't want to put it on a listening platform. Like I just want it on YouTube. So like right now I'm playing with the idea of like, can I get over the fact that I feel like I have to do it the way everyone else does their podcast?
Oh my God, I love that. I love that, Abby. Yes, it's just like, oh, breaking down all of the rules and letting go. And it's funny. I feel like in my rule breaker phase when I was letting my sacred rebel come alive, I can't even remember like who it was, but like a mentor that I worked with was like, Michelle, I want you to put yourself in a physical box. Like get a fucking Amazon box and like put yourself in it. And then she was like, and then I want you to physically like bust yourself out of it. And like I did that. It was like this symbol of like, I am not constrained by these rules any longer. I am not a shy good girl. Like, let me roar. And I just remember it was just so, I felt so silly. And I was just like, this is stupid. But afterwards, I was like, this was brilliant. Because
Yeah.
I'm such a visual person that like having those visual anchors is and like those like physical experiences are so liberating. But I love that. Just like you in this podcast and deciding like you don't have to follow like what is
Yeah.
normal or what people do. It's just Abby's way. Abby's way
Yeah.
will always be the right way.
And your hair flip. I can't. I love it so much.
So sassy.
I love you so much. It feels like we've been friends for like our whole lives.
It does. I feel like we've certainly met in a past lifetime or something like that. Because I also just felt like instant divine connection with you. And
It's so nice. I love it so much. I want you to talk about before we like close out. I'll see if there's anything else you have to say, like to wrap up this conversation. But I want to know, like, for everybody that's listening, that's like, oh, you're right. Michelle is so fucking magnetic. I need to be in her world. What is happening in your world right now? And where can people find you?
oh, thank you so much for that invitation, Abby. So you can find me on Instagram. I am Michelle.Etchison, and I'm sure that can be like in the show notes because
It'll be in the show.
my last name is one of those cute last names where everyone is like Hutchison, Atchison, and I'm like it's like hard to say and hard to spell, but what's going on in my world? Honestly, just come play on Instagram. Instagram is my favorite place to hang out. Like it feels like a fucking party every single day. Like when I do go on there, it's just like jamming out in DMs, like hanging out in the comments, like making reels, almost like vlogging in my stories and sharing my life and my day.
Yeah.
I feel like honestly, Instagram is just, I'm always there. It's such an anchor point in my life and such a fun playground for me to be in my self expression. So if you feel pulled, definitely come play over there. That would be such a divine honor. And this has just been so magnificent, Abby. Like, I'm going to hop off the Zoom call and just like go dance and play.
Me too. I was just gonna say that. I was like, I'm putting on music and I'm gonna dance around.
Oh, yep, same soul frequency right here.
For sure. Oh my gosh. And when this episode comes out, because we don't have a full release date for it yet, but if Michelle has like a course, a program, things going on, like I'll drop that in the show notes to her website. And so you guys can find her, but definitely check her out on Instagram, and her reels are so funny. My favorite one might be the one where you had all the crystals in your bra and it was like, oh, it was so funny. And they fell out and you didn't even plan for that to happen. I think
I was like, oh God. And then I was like, I have to keep that.
Yeah, now you guys all have to go find that reel. So go find it. But seriously, this has been just an incredible conversation. Oh my gosh, tears, laughter, joy, pleasure, dark. Like what else could you want?
I know. It's just like the beautiful sacred sisterhood that is this channel right here. It's just,
Yes.
again, such an honor, Abby. Like, this has been so delightful and so much fun. And I just treasure you as a soul sister and human being. And also to all of your listeners, just thank you for spending your time, your presence, and your energy with us. We feel it.
Mm.
It's just, I always am just like, no words, no words.
No, Michelle does. That is true. I've done one of her programs and she's like, it's like her cute little like.
I know, it's like I do that. I go when I just feel so complete, and when I'm excited, I go. Those are like classic Michelle ways of being. Is and so
You're like a cat.
I literally. Oh my god!
Oh,
And on that note, yes.
that's so good. Well, thank you so much for being here. I love you so much, and I can't wait for everyone to hear this.